Hey everybody, what's going on? This is wilkyb, and this is the official showcase video of my competitive map, Fog of War 1 vs 1 map, and it doesn't need to be Fog of War actually. And it's called Concealed Hill version 13. I think this map produces quality competitive gameplay with a large variety of different outcomes, especially with an emphasis on the early game. And by the early game I mean like the first 5 turns. There's a lot of different outcomes, and yeah, it's really cool. I think this is a really unique map with unique qualities that distinguishes it from any other map. And I think part of the reason why this map is so unique is because it's essentially restricted from Global League because it doesn't follow their rules. So I don't think there's very many map makers who deviate from those rules. Even though this map is amazing, I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really, really good. And so yeah, so I think part of the reason why it's so distinguished from any other map is because it's restricted. Like if you make this map, it will not make it into Global League with the rules that they have right now. Which is too bad for them and their audience. This map is so good. This map is amazing. This map does things that no other map does, and it's amazing. So, I'm going to go into the different elements of what consists this map, or what this map is consistent of. And it's 5 different elements that I choose to bring up here. And the first one is pretty obvious. You can see that it's the mech versus infantry start, and it's only just one base. So, yeah, so for that reason, this map is essentially disqualified from the Global League, and that's a bummer. But anyways, intuitively, you can see that player 1 captures their base later, and player 2 captures sooner. So player 2 essentially, in a nutshell, has the economy game, and player 1 has more of like the punchy kind of game, because they start with a greater army value, but they reach this base a bit later. So that's element number 1. And element number 2 is also the headquarters and the starting bases being in close proximity to each other. So the one base and infantry mech setup, and the bases being close in proximity to the center of the map like this. And I've said this before in my other videos, that this is a really important map design concept. The maps where the bases are really far apart from each other, the development phase happens automatically, and then eventually you reach the middle of the map where you first encounter your opponent, and then sort of like a death ball kind of happens, and it just keeps piling on top of it. Not necessarily, but like the action only happens at the middle of the map to initiate things. And I think that's kind of a bummer, because this map is different. It's very different, and you'll see it through this video and through the replays that are attached in the description of the video. Yeah, so before I get ahead of myself with the replays here, that was the second element, is the bases and the headquarters being located close to each other at the center of the map to enable fighting and just interesting stuff to happen soon. The third element is just kind of like a little thing I like to point out, is that the development phase can happen in either direction on this map. So that means that like what I see on not every Global League map, but one side is typically strong and favored, and one side is typically like weaker and needs defense because of the way that the base setup works. And this map is a little bit different in that respect, where you're not really pigeonholed to go one way or the other. You can go either way, and it works out. Yeah, so there's that. The fourth point that I want to make is the variety of the early game, the first 5 turns. And this is the part where you need to watch the replays to know really what I'm talking about. So like I said, is in the video description are 12 replays that you can go through, and these replays specifically with respect to the early game, turns 1 through 4, and in some cases 5. There are build orders and move sets that either player can do that results in like fair outcomes and unique different outcomes. These replays showcase the common opening build orders and movesets on Concealed Hill through the first 4 turns, and the resulting gameplay according to the variety of opposing build orders that each player may encounter from their opponent in the early game. So, to make it easy for you, the title of each replay describes the opening build orders and movesets through turns 1 through 4, and the replay ends at day 7. So you can kind of see the board state at the beginning of turn 7. And the turns 5, like turn 5 and turn 6 in those replays, don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily doing the best build orders or move sets, because I don't really know what those are, because the complexity of the openers of turns 1 through 4 and sometimes 5, it was a lot of work to make all of this work. And recently I played all of these replays, like all of these replays you'll download. I played them all out, and I've mapped them all out, the board state at the beginning of turn 7, and all of the outcomes are quite fair, but very unique and very different from each other. So I would advise that you download the replay pack, and you take a look at the different build orders that I'm talking about. And like I said, is the title of the replays, of each replay, kind of describes the first 4 turns of the build orders that you'll see. And then turn 5 and 6 is kind of up in the air. It's up in the air. And then another thing worth mentioning too is that these 12 replays, it's not necessary, these are not all of the possible build orders, but these are just a lot of the ones that, you know, are standard and that are strong. But there's also the ability, like, there's also the type of game that you can play that rushes down the middle, that like, I've played against an opponent who captured just 1 base and then rushed down the middle, and it worked, and they beat me. So these 12 replays, turns 1 through 4, aren't necessarily the only openers that there are. There are definitely openers where you can rush, and you can do different things than what those replays might show you. So, yeah, so there's a lot of variety in the early game. Yeah, and that's a big thing that I think is really important and really missing in competitive Advance Wars maps. I don't see an early game with as much variety as what is showcased by these replays. And there's even more replays to produce that haven't been made yet. So there's that. That's what I think about that. The last thing is, the last element that makes this map unique is that it was designed around Fog of War. So this map is actually also amazing without Fog of War. Those 12 replays and the outcomes and the different build orders and stuff, you'll see it for yourself that they all work out. So even if you play without Fog of War and you kind of just blindly build in one direction or the other, once you become very familiar with the map, it's not so blind as you might think. And there are different lines that you can take that create like outcomes, and that's due to the combination of different build orders and moves that you can make that create those 12 different replays, plus more, that this map can produce. So, yeah, so there's that. So I guess I'll just go through this replay here, and just to make you a bit more familiar with how this map works out typically. And one thing I'll quickly describe too is the recon rush is a thing in this map. You can recon rush and delay a base, potentially, or you can be behind, but the outcome you'll see in the replays. And it doesn't end up that you're behind, really. Like, it works out really nicely, amazingly. But the recon rush is a thing in this map, and it's balanced by player 1 not having their lab, and the lab enables the recon rush. So player 2 starts with their lab, And so that means that they can build a recon immediately without having to capture the lab, and player 1 has to capture the lab. And the way it works out is because the recon is so strong, delaying this base capture, delaying this base capture actually makes the recon rush equal. It works, and it works perfectly. So, yeah. So I've figured out something really unique here that I think should be looked into more. This lab restriction came about because before there were labs, player 1 had a huge lead. They had a huge lead, and it was just way too good. And there was also an auto-win scenario, where if you did the right build order, it would just automatically win you the game. And that is lame, so obviously I had to fix that. And the fix was adding this lab. And before the lab was added, it was incredibly strong, which you'll see in the replay here shortly, I promise. And it was incredibly strong, and it also, like, player 1 also had the economy behind it. Like, it was just way too strong. So this lab is perfect. And you'll see how it goes in this map, or in this replay. So here we go, is the replay. And we'll go move by move. So in this replay, I do the recon rush with player 1, and player 2 is going to, do their economy thing like they typically do. So player 2, as you can see, if there is a recon rush and you're playing with Fog of War, you can reveal the recon rush by standing on this mountain and revealing the recon who can move onto this tile and reveal this base to attack it. So this mountain on the way to capturing the base is really important. And this is the turn, I believe, where we build a recon, because we have 4,000 funds and our lab is captured. And yeah, here we go. And the mech is going on to the same side that the recon is going to attack, just for a note. And so what Blue Moon is going to do is build a recon of their own. And there's Fog of War on this map, but even without Fog of War, this works out just fine. Fog of War actually doesn't really have an effect on the outcomes of those 12 replays. Yeah, so there's that. But yeah, so what's going to happen next here is that player 1 is going to go and attack with this recon. Not attack, but they'll go reveal the base, and they'll see that this recon is late to capturing this base. This recon could have gone to this side and attacked this one later, because right now we're on the strong side for player 1. This side is going to be weak for player 2. And you can see it in the replays as well about how these outcomes play out. This outcome, this moveset to go to this side, is entailed in one of the replays, you can see. So we're looking at this replay right now. And right now, player 1 is looking pretty happy because they're going to get a poke on this infantry before it captures this base. And so they're going to be in a pretty good economic position. And so we'll see how this unfolds. So the recon, because of this infantry being on this mountain, it can see the recon here, and it can attack it. And so here we go. Player 2 goes to capture the base. They capture towards the middle here, and they're just economy behind it with an infantry. Player 1 capturing the middle, capturing their base here, and they finish capture on this base over here. So player 1 is ahead on this base by a half a turn. Or, I don't know if that's half a turn. I'm not sure what tech terminology you guys use. And so this player 1 recon goes to slow down this base capture. And so, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is one of the mechanics of how the map works, and you'll see how it plays out further. Player 1 attacks in the middle. Player 2 attacks the recon. And yeah, so we're just going to see what happens next. So this recon goes to hide because it can't attack this one again and do anything significant to it because it'll capture automatically. And so you go hide over here, and there's a bit of vision. You can see what's coming up next. And yeah, and so player 2 has this recon that he can go harass with afterwards. Player 1 is player 2? Is it player 1's turn? Attacks this here. Capture, capture, go to capture, go to capture. And on this turn, I just decided to build an artillery because I want to economy on this side, infantry, and I just want firepower in the middle because I had 7,000. There is a build order that you can just build a tank and base skip, but I'm not too big on that, personally. And I don't know what the optimal play is beyond, like, turn 5. It's up in the air. And it's up to opinion, honestly. I don't know. But we're not going to go there. Yeah, so day 6. So the game is going to be drawn after this. And yeah, so here's the board state, basically. So this is the board state at the end of the game, without Fog of War. There are 11 different board states of all those replays. This is one of them, where the board state on game 7, all of the replays end on day 7, and all of the board states, in my opinion, are equal, but in different ways and in unique ways. I think there's 1 or 2 outcomes that are actually, there's a chance that they can be worse because of the rolls and how they go with this recon rush. But apart from that, all the replays end in fair outcomes and unique different positions. Like, there are essentially 12 different lines that are produced, and even more that I haven't covered in these 12 replays, that are created through the first 4 turns of this map. So yeah, so I think that's one of the fundamental things that I really want to talk about here, is the early gameplay variety and what you can do with bases and maps that have bases closer to the middle. Yeah, this is just an example of what this map maker is possible of, that you would never know existed because they're not allowed in the map pool on Global League. So I want you guys to watch and go through those 12 replays and tell me that I don't have something really cool going on here. Like, that's, yeah. So anyways, not to make it personal, but Jesus, like, this map is really, 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 really good. And it doesn't follow your rules. And so, I don't know, I would just like to see the equivalent in proof, I suppose, for the complexity of maps. But my maps are different. Like, this is just categorically a different kind of map from, like, any other map. It would be comparing apples to oranges for me to ask Global League to compare their maps in a similar fashion to what evidence I provide through the replays and the board states created at the beginning of turn 7. But another thing I want to point out here is that all of this variety of gameplay through the first 7 turns of these replays that I've provided, this is very complex stuff, and this is only 7 turns of gameplay. So what follows is, like, capturing the comm towers on the sides here, and there's also other stuff where you can recon rush, like turn 5, build a recon and send it over here to delay this capture and stuff. Like, there's so much about this map that's really cool, not even just the first 4 or 7 turns or whatever, that is wide open. So yeah, so I think this video is a really good resource for people who, well, it's a good resource because it has the 12 replays, and I'm just kind of giving you the gist of how it goes and stuff like that. And yeah, that's just my map. This is the map I love playing on a whole lot. It's like I've said, I'm kind of repeating now, but I play on it so much because it's so unique. It's so different from anything else. So, yeah, so here it is. And one other thing too is it doesn't necessarily have to be played with Fog of War on. So this is just a really, really good map. I think it does lots of good things. I have lots of fun playing on it. And I've also hosted a tournament where it's in the grand finals right now. And yeah, I've seen some really interesting and really cool replays and stuff like that. So yeah, so this is the map. This excuse me. This is the map. This is you know, you got the replays in the description there. So yeah, do your thing, guys. Watch the replays and, you know, reply to the video. I would appreciate it big time if you would reply and tell me what you think in video format. I would really appreciate that. So yeah, so that's my map. Okay, guys, this is wilkyb signing off. Adios.